A Dignity story. You are watching Dignity.
My parents named me Sande, but my stage name is Sande today. I come from a town called Escort in KZN, South Africa. Born to a family of 7. I am number 6 in the line. So I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. I did have a brother who passed away last year, so now there's 6 of us. I guess a day in the life of my family looks a bit chaotic. So my mother is I like to call her a businesswoman, but the more known English word would be she's a street vendor. So she sells fruits and vegetables on the street. And then my dad worked for the Department of Agriculture in Escort. And so I grew up, my mornings were filled with preparing for my mother's business. You would wake up in the morning, shower, and then you would have to prepare the stock, put it into the car, have breakfast if you can have breakfast. Very like busy morning. You can imagine breakfast with 5-6 children, quite busy, and then we would go to school. But our schools were very near because it's a small town, so we used to walk to them when we were like old enough. We used to walk to them. Come back home, we used to play like ordinary children, but not too much because sometimes we had like work to do when you grow up with parents who are farmers. Sometimes you have to do stuff around the farm, like prepare the potatoes, put them into the packets so mom can sell them the next day. There was like the season where kutshalwa ubhontshisi, then fanele ubhontshisi uthathe uwonyiswe, ubhulwe, uthathe uwelwe. So all of those things would be done by us. And so by the time mom gets home, you know, she'd give you an instruction in the morning. I want a mazambana 25 and 7 kgs in the evening, or I want 25 liter somhlope, and then when you guys come back from school, you need to get that stuff, prepare it, and by the time she's home, that stuff must be prepared. And if it's not, also born. But yeah, it's pretty much the day in the life of my family. Very busy, very work orientated, very business orientated. I guess we're very involved with my mother's business because it was a large sort of source of our income. So as a young boy, I played a bit of hockey, but I really am not a sports person at all. But I played hockey because it was a great time with friends. I started playing hockey around grade 4. But what I did do a lot of is a lot of choir. So I think around grade 5ish, I auditioned for the choir, the primary school choir, and I got in. And I sang soprano, which is a bit weird for a little boy, but I guess I had a really high-pitched voice. And so I sang soprano in the school choir, primary school choir, then it was high school. High school, there was no choir in the high school. So then I joined the church choir. And that was, I think, well, primary school obviously is where the journey started, but the journey of like choir and the love for music started with the church choir. I really loved choir. Choir was a place for me of peace. So if you grew up in a family of 7 plus parents, plus sometimes visiting relatives, you grew up in a really big crowd of people. And so I got my solace from being in choir, because even though there's a lot of people at choir, it's really like a beautiful music environment. For me, choir felt like the presence of God. Now that I reflect on it, it felt like a place where there was this atmosphere around me of peace. My journey into university, I was already singing. I already knew, you know what, music is a big passion of mine, and I did want to sing. Then in matric, I applied to study music. I applied to study law. My parents were supportive of both at the time, but more supportive of like the law stuff than the music music stuff. They knew the music stuff, I had it in me, but they were more supportive of the law stuff. And then when I applied for university, I got a acceptance from UJ for accounting. I got an acceptance from UKZN for music, got an acceptance from UKZN for law, provisional acceptance for law. And then the music department of UKZN wanted me to come audition. And then in the year 2009, beginning of the year 2009, is when I got saved and gave my life to Jesus. And so my parents are Christians, but salvation is a bit of a foreign concept to them. And so this is when there was this like fight around the faith in the home and the things I would want to do and not do. And so my parents were like fighting with me at the time, and this is the time when I need money to go to the audition. And so because of the fighting, I never received the money, and it was just a bit of a situation. I never went for the audition, so I didn't go to study music. I had to then take the second alternative, which was law. And that's how I ended up studying law. I didn't like what I was studying. I was a very bad student. I always tell, I'm a campus minister, so I run a ministry on University of Johannesburg in Soweto, UJ. I always tell my students, I was a bad student. I really took 5 years to complete my degree because I didn't like my degree and I was a bad student. I always say to my friends, I was going to church and having fun and doing all other things, and then I did school on the side. I prayed through what I didn't like, because I think there came a time where when I knew I needed to do this, it was going to help me in future, and I would know why I needed to study what I studied. There was just that feeling I got from God when I prayed about my degrees, that you're studying this for a reason. And then sometimes it was just for my parents. My mom is a woman who gets up in the morning in the winter of Escort. Escort is cold, like it is on the foot of White Mountain in KZN. It's cold, and my mother would get up in every season, cold or hot, and she would be in the hot sun selling vegetables for my future. So sometimes I would really just get up because, look, my mother is working hard. Sometimes my motivation would be, you know what, my mother is burning in the sun somewhere so that I can be here. So I literally need to show up and do the best that I need to do because of her. Yeah, that was my university life, and 5 years later I graduated. Now I know why I studied what I studied. I'm quite a philosophical thinker. I'm quite a political thinker. Now I know I am a thinker. Back then I didn't really know why I would study what I was studying. But now I know it was okay, cool. It was because of, I'm actually a critical thinker, and it was just God's way of helping me to discover my critical thinking, to improve and strengthen my critical thinking, because it's just actually always been a part of me, who I am. Some of the lessons I learned in university. One, I learned community. I found really good friends in university. I really learned the lesson that you can't do life alone. I had 4 amazing friends. We did life together. We were sort of all earning the same income bracket, but we were such close friends. We would know who gets paid when, whose money we're spending when, how we buy groceries together to help out each other. We eat at whose house for this long, we do this, that. I really learned the lesson of doing stuff in community. I think I learned that God's provision, is like not from the sky sometimes. Just bread won't fall from the sky, but it will fall from the people around you that God has put around you. So I guess I also learned to be vulnerable with my needs, to love also with everything I had. So for me, vulnerability is that, being so open that you aren't afraid, you aren't fearful in your love, and you aren't fearful to let people in. place where, you know, when you don't know, you don't know nothing, and all you're holding on to is that God exists. I'm created, therefore God must have created something. And so the song says, "Sivula amehlo, sibone." And I was just begging God to open my eyes to see Him again, because life had done what life does. So I asked Him to open my eyes. So I hope you enjoy it. It's called Sivula amehlo. Sivula amehlo, sikubone amehlo ethu, akubone umphefumulo wethu, ukukhonze inhliziyo zethu, zikuthande. Siyakulangazelela, Nkosi yamakhosi, ngakonke sinakho, ngakonke sikho. Siyakulangazelela, Nkosi yamakhosi, ngakonke sinakho, ngakonke sikho. Sivula amehlo, sikubone amehlo ethu, akubone umphefumulo wethu, ukukhonze inhliziyo zethu, zikuthande. Sivula amehlo, sikubone amehlo ethu, akubone umphefumulo wethu, ikukhonze inhliziyo zethu. So my brother died, and then my parents just started getting physically ill. And there was a time I needed to go back home because both my parents were in and out of like sickness, and it was a thing. I remember sitting in a bus going down from Joburg to Escort and thinking to myself, Lord, my family won't survive this. My family is literally not going to survive this. I'm going to lose my parents.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.